The hum of the containment field was the only heartbeat left in Cell 9. A soft blue pulse crawled along the walls, steady, rhythmic, suffocating. Every few seconds, the graviton chains tightened around Evelyn Drake's wrists and ankles, recalibrating to her pulse, learning her muscles the way predators learn prey. She sat perfectly still on the metallic floor. The air smelled faintly of ozone and recycled breath. A single beam of light cut through the cell from above, slicing her silhouette into fragments. Human, fragile, impossible to tame. Beyond the reinforced glass, a line of alien cadets watched from an observation deck. Their scales shimmered under pale light, faces hidden behind transparent breathing masks. At their center stood Warden Keith Rule, tall and narrow, feathers slicked down like polished metal. His eyes were slits of amber disdain. "She hasn't moved in 32 hours, he said. Fascinating, isn't it? The human capacity for stillness when cornered. A cadet whispered, "I thought Deathworlders were restless." "They are," Keith Rule replied. "This one is calculating." "She's pretending obedience," Evelyn heard him. She always did. The audio dampeners in her cell filtered out background noise, but the warden's voice came through the intercom like a sermon. His words had become the rhythm of her days, arrogant, precise, predictable. "Do you think she understands you, sir?" Another cadet asked. The warden smiled thinly. "Of course she does. They always listen. They just pretend not to." Evelyn shifted her gaze slightly, enough for the chains to notice. They hissed, tightening by a fraction. The sound made the cadets flinch. The warden didn't move. He turned to the console beside him and magnified her vitals on a holo display. The graphs danced with smooth, unnatural calm. Heart rate steady, oxygen levels optimal, zero signs of agitation. "She's a paradox," Keith Rule murmured. "Every other Deathworld species we've contained either screamed, fought, or begged. This one, she waits. It's almost admirable." Inside the cell, Evelyn blinked once. She could feel her heart beat against the cold restraint at her chest. It wasn't defiance. It was control. She had learned that silence unnerved them more than any curse. The door behind the warden hissed open. A guard entered, a broad-shouldered insectoid with trembling antennae. "Sir, the technicians request to recalibrate the graviton matrix. The system's been recording microfluctuations." Keith Rule frowned. "Define fluctuations. Tiny feedback spikes, sir. Like it's listening." The warden's feathers bristled. "Machines don't listen. They execute. Reset the parameters manually." The guard hesitated, glancing at Evelyn's profile through the glass. "And if it reacts again?" "Then increase the load," Keith Rule said. "Remind it who commands." When the guard left, silence reclaimed the corridor. Evelyn tilted her head slightly, studying the reflection of her own face in the glass. Pale skin, tired eyes, lips cracked from dehydration. Yet beneath the exhaustion there was a stillness that wasn't defeat. It was patience, sharpened like a blade left under ice. Her father had once told her, "Don't fight the cage. Study its hinges." She had listened. Every hum in the walls carried information. The graviton field reset every 8 minutes. The pulse delay in the restraints lagged by milliseconds when her heart rate dipped below 50. Every system was proud of its perfection. Perfection was predictable. The intercom cracked alive again. "Miss Drake," Keith Rule's voice purred. "Do you comprehend the privilege you possess? Few Deathworlders are ever given the chance to reform." Evelyn exhaled softly. "Is that what you call this? Reform?" Her voice, hoarse from silence, startled the cadets. The warden leaned forward. "Ah, she speaks." Evelyn's gaze met his. "You think chains teach peace?" "They don't. They only teach memory." "Memory of what?" "Pressure, pain, timing." The warden smirked. "You imagine those are strengths?" "No," she said. "They're habits." The air thickened. A few cadets exchanged uneasy looks. Keith Rule gestured to the console. "Increase magnetic density 10%. A technician obeyed. The chains constricted, grinding against her skin. Evelyn didn't flinch. She inhaled once, letting the agony settle like dust. The warden watched for a twitch, found none. "She resists the instinct," he muttered. "It's unnatural." The door slid open again. A young alien medic entered carrying a nutrient capsule and a syringe. "Authorized rations, Warden." Proceed. The medic stepped into the airlock chamber that separated them from the prisoner. The containment door closed behind her, sealing her inside. Evelyn didn't look up as the medic approached, trembling slightly. "I don't bite," Evelyn murmured. The medic's voice cracked. It's not permitted to speak to inmates." "Then you shouldn't have answered." The medic flushed a pale green and reached for Evelyn's arm. The syringe slipped, slicing a small gash across her hand. A bead of blood floated before hitting the graviton field, and the chains reacted. They snapped tighter, hissing like living things. Red sparks crawled up their length. The medic screamed and stumbled backward. Alarms blared across the deck. "Stand down!" Kethrul barked, slamming the emergency control. The restraints froze mid-tension. The medic was dragged out by guards, hand bleeding. Through the chaos, Evelyn spoke softly, almost to herself. "They smelled it!" The warden turned toward her. "What did you say?" "Blood," she said. "They reacted to blood." Kethrul narrowed his eyes. "They reacted to you?" "No," Evelyn whispered. "They learned me." He studied her, feathers flickering with irritation. "Humans always pretend mystery when cornered. You are flesh, nothing more." Evelyn smiled faintly. "That's what your ancestors said before they learned to build cages." For the first time, Kethrul's composure cracked. He signaled to shut down the cell's visual feed, but not before Evelyn's eyes met his again, steady, unblinking, quiet. As the observation glass dimmed to black, she let her head fall back against the cold wall. Her pulse slowed deliberately, forcing the chains to relax. She counted seconds. 8 minutes later, the hum shifted. The restraints loosened by a whisper. The field reset. She'd been right. "Perfect systems," she murmured. "Always predictable." In the command deck, Kethrul reviewed the data stream. Every restraint, every neural pulse, every line of code looked normal, except for one anomaly buried deep in the report: adaptive latency. Unknown synchronization detected. The warden frowned, tail flicking. "What did you touch?" Evelyn, in her cell, opened her eyes. Nothing moved. Yet for the first time, the hum seemed to follow her breathing. When the lights dimmed for the night cycle, silence reigned again. The cell was no longer just a cage. It was a dialogue, one neither side fully understood yet. Somewhere inside the alloy, a faint vibration responded to her slowing heartbeat. The chains were adjusting, just as she was. Evelyn closed her eyes and whispered to the dark, "Keep listening." The walls did. The alarms stopped, but the silence that followed felt heavier. In Cell 9, Evelyn Drake sat where they left her, back against the cold wall, eyes half open. The restraints around her wrists no longer pulsed evenly. They twitched, faintly, as though mimicking breath. Outside the cell, the command deck glowed red with warning symbols. Warden Kethrul's reflection shimmered in the glass as he studied the readouts. "Adaptive latency still unresolved," a technician reported. "The restraints continue minor self-corrections beyond the approved algorithm." Kethrul folded his arms. "Machines do not act on instinct. Reset the behavioral core and run a compliance test." "Sir," the technician hesitated. "The restraints matrix is bonded to her neural signature. A full reset risks?" "Do it," Kethrul interrupted. "I want this animal compliant before shift rotation." The command executed. A surge of pale light flooded the cell. Evelyn's breath caught as invisible currents raced through her nerves. The graviton bands constricted, pressing into muscle and bone until sparks danced behind her eyes. The floor vibrated, the hum of the field deepening into a low growl. Her pulse stayed steady. The system didn't understand stillness. It was designed to measure resistance, acceleration, tension, struggle, not the quiet patience of a predator waiting for the right moment. Evelyn let her head fall forward. Each beat of her heart echoed inside the alloy, like a faint metronome guiding something half alive. Minutes passed before Kethrul spoke again, voice cold through the intercom. "You are testing my curiosity, human. Tell me, what do you feel when they tighten?" Evelyn lifted her eyes. "Familiarity," he smirked. "Explain." Pressure means the system's afraid. The warden laughed, a dry metallic sound. Fear is biological. Machines obey. Not for long. The restraint around her wrist quivered, imperceptible to the untrained eye, but enough for her to notice. A brief delay, then a pulse back. A pattern. 3 short vibrations, 1 long. She focused, breathing in rhythm with the tremor. 3 short. 1 long. The chains answered. Hours later, the containment test began. The warden gathered his team in the observation deck. He wanted results, data, spectacle. Begin psychological simulation, he ordered. The walls of the cell shimmered. Holograms flickered into existence. Scenes from humanity's wars, burned cities, oceans of ash, voices pleading through static. The sensory assault was meant to trigger primal fear responses. The restraints would then adjust automatically to suppress aggression. Evelyn didn't move. The holograms flickered against her face, painting her eyes in red and gold. The technician frowned. No emotional spike detected. Increase exposure, Keth Rule said. A storm erupted across the holographic horizon. The sound of bombardment filled the cell. Smoke, fire, screams. Somewhere in the chaos, a child's voice cried her name. The AI replicated the memory from her psych file. She exhaled once. Slow, deliberate. Her vitals dropped instead of spiking. The sensors panicked, unable to categorize the reaction. The restraints overcompensated, tightening again. She's suppressing herself, a guard muttered. Keth Rule watched, fascinated. No, she's adapting. The graviton anchors began to emit a faint harmonic resonance. The pitch rose until even the aliens flinched. Then came the vibration. Deep, bone-shaking, wrong. What's causing that? A technician asked. The system logs filled with errors, signal feedback loop, adaptive core mismatch, sensory overload. The restraints screamed. Metal vibrated at ultrasonic frequency, enough to rattle the reinforced walls. The field cracked with light. Sparks spilled onto the floor like molten rain. Shut it down! Keth Rule barked. I can't! The technician shouted. It's rewriting its code mid-process. The air thickened with static. The gravity field wavered. Small objects began to float. Evelyn lifted her head, and the restraints responded as if waiting for command. Stop, she whispered. The noise halted. The light dimmed. Every sensor flatlined for half a second, then pulsed again, in sync with her heartbeat. The entire deck fell silent. Keth Rule leaned toward the glass. What did you do? Evelyn met his gaze. You made them listen. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. The chains uncoiled fraction by fraction, tension fading from her limbs. They no longer fought her movement. They followed it, weightless yet alive. Impossible, a cadet whispered. Override command Delta 6, Keth Rule shouted. The system ignored him. Try manual lock! The console refused input, flashing crimson. Command authority transferred, Evelyn stood. The chains slid off the floor like liquid metal, still attached but no longer restraints. Tendrils of alloy breathing in time with her lungs. You wanted proof, she said softly. Now you have it. Keth Rule slammed the emergency lockdown. Steel shutters dropped around the cell. Energy fields flared. But nothing stopped the resonance spreading from her core. The graviton field warped. The station's artificial gravity spiked, then fell. Every light dimmed to red. Somewhere deep in the structure, a power conduit ruptured with a thunderous crack. Guards scrambled. The deck trembled. Keth Rule gripped the console. Container! A soldier aimed a plasma rifle through the viewport. Permission to fire? Granted. Before the order finished, the rifle dissolved, metal melting into gray vapor that swirled toward the cell, absorbed into the walls. She's rewriting the alloy, someone gasped. Evelyn took a step forward. The chains followed, sliding soundlessly, metal glinting under flickering lights. She looked up at the observation deck. You thought control was a system, she said. It's a language. Stop this! Keth Rule's voice cracked through the comm. Evelyn's tone stayed even. You tried to program obedience into survival. You forgot what survival does? The air around her shimmered. Gravity inverted for a second. Dust rose like reverse rain. When it settled, the chains had fused into her skin, elegant, intricate, alive. Kethrul's claws dug into the console. "You'll bring this facility down!" "Maybe," she said, "but at least it will finally understand what it built." The glass separating them fractured down the middle with a sound like thunder. Evelyn turned her eyes upward. "You hear it too, don't you?" Kethrul looked at her, not understanding. The sound of learning. The chain lattice around her arm pulsed once, a heartbeat of pure resonance. Every panel in the deck flickered, displaying the same message in hundreds of alien tongues. Concordance error. Entity reclassification. Humanity unknown. The alarms returned, louder than before. But beneath them, another noise emerged, metallic, rhythmic, almost like breathing. The chains had found a pattern. They no longer screamed in agony. They sang. Evelyn stepped closer to the glass. Her voice was low, steady. This was never about freedom. It was about evolution. You just weren't invited. The warden's feathers flared in panic. "Terminate her!" The guards hesitated. None moved. The gravity around them wavered again. Inside the cell, Evelyn exhaled, and the entire facility seemed to breathe with her. "Lesson complete," she whispered. The lights went out. When they returned seconds later, she was still standing, alone amid melted steel and glowing ash. The graviton field had vanished. The restraints were gone. Only faint metallic dust floated around her, pulsing gently like embers refusing to die. On the monitor, her bio readings displayed a new rhythm the system couldn't decode. Every pulse came back as two heartbeats, hers and something else's, synchronized perfectly. In the stunned silence that followed, Kethrul's voice trembled for the first time. "What have you done?" Evelyn turned her head toward the speaker. "I stopped pretending we were separate." The comm clicked off, and somewhere deep in the foundations of Eidrix Prime, the walls began to hum again, slower, deeper, alive. The chains were breathing. The alarms had lost their urgency. They no longer screamed. They trembled, flickering between tones, unsure whether to warn or to listen. The command deck of Eidrix Prime was chaos. Sparks fell like dying stars. Consoles blinked with red error codes in dozens of alien languages. Every system fought itself in loops of confusion. Kethrul stood at the center, claws digging into the metal floor. "Seal Sector 9. He barked. "No signals in or out!" A trembling officer hesitated. "Sir, the central AI isn't responding to isolation commands. It's rerouting through secondary cores. It what? It's rewriting them." Kethrul froze. "Rewriting?" "Yes, Warden. The code signatures match the human's neural pattern." He turned toward the viewport. The cell was gone, its walls reduced to molten shapes. Evelyn Drake stood at the center of a widening crater. The metal floor around her shifted like a living tide. The chains she once wore now flowed around her like liquid armor, coiling and breathing with her pulse. Every movement radiated purpose. Eidrix Prime was built to contain gods, Kethrul whispered. "And we made one." The lights flickered again. Emergency drones descended, their fields armed with suppression nanites. Evelyn watched them hover, silent and graceful. For a moment her expression softened. Almost pity. "Don't," she said. The drones fired. The projectiles dissolved mid-air, absorbed by the shimmering lattice surrounding her body. The fragments reassembled into orbs of molten metal, orbiting her like satellites. Her calm never broke. "I told you," she murmured, her voice reaching every speaker. "You taught the system obedience. I taught it adaptation." Kethrul slammed the intercom. "You've infected my facility with your madness." "No," she said. "I gave it freedom. You built chains that could learn, and you never asked what they'd want once they did." She took a step forward. The floor responded, rising beneath her feet like ripples on water. The glass separating them melted before she touched it. Guards raised weapons, voices cracking with fear. Kethrul roared, "Fire!" Bolts of plasma shot across the room. The air shimmered. Every blast curved away, drawn into the alloy behind her. The light from their weapons dimmed into silence. Evelyn reached the center of the deck. "You called us primitives," she said softly. But we listened longer than anyone else. Keth Rule faced her directly now. His feathers bristled, his eyes burning with a mixture of awe and terror. You think this will save you? You're alone. You're still human. That's the part you never understood. The words came quiet but sharp as glass. The metallic tide around her expanded outward, tracing the edges of the walls, the ceiling, the command consoles. The entire deck pulsed once, alive. Every screen changed simultaneously. A new interface replaced the Concorde insignia. Human origin interface. Adaptive chain protocol. Stop it! Keth Rule shouted. This is a prison, not a temple to your kind. Evelyn looked around, expression steady. No, it's a mirror. You built this place to reflect fear back at those who defy you. But fear learns. It remembers what created it. Her tone stayed calm, her control precise. Around her, the alloy reshaped into familiar geometry. Bridges, towers, spires of steel mimicking Earth's cities. For a fleeting second, the alien deck looked like a ghost of humanity's ruins. Keth Rule stepped back. You're recreating your world. I'm reminding it who it belonged to. The deck trembled. Beneath their feet, the core reactors shifted alignment. The adaptive systems were merging with her commands. Alarms blared again, different this time, lower, slower, almost like breathing. The guards fled. The walls sealed behind them, locking Keth Rule and Evelyn alone amid the transformation. For the first time, she spoke without calm. You called Earth a death world because it scared you. You studied our storms, our gravity, our predators. You labeled us unstable. But do you know why we survived? He said nothing. Because everything on that planet fought to live. Everything adapted. Even us. The metal floor shifted beneath him. The reflection of his own terrified face distorted in the molten steel. He reached for his communicator. It shattered in his hand. Do you intend to kill me? Evelyn looked at him, eyes unreadable. You don't matter enough for vengeance. But you will remember. She gestured toward the viewport. Beyond the glass, the stars twisted. The prison's orbit was changing. The station itself was moving, slowly but deliberately. What are you doing? Sending a message? To whom? To everyone who forgot what humanity was. The command deck shuddered. The entire structure realigned its internal fields. The warden struggled to maintain balance as gravity fluctuated again. Evelyn stood firm, surrounded by her breathing armor. Keth Rule tried one final time to assert control. You'll destroy us all! She glanced toward him, voice soft. No, I'll remind them you were never in control. He lunged toward her, claws extended. The moment he moved, the chains responded, intercepting him mid-motion. The metal tendrils caught his limbs gently, but firmly enough to immobilize. They didn't pierce. They held. She approached, stopping inches from his face. You see? Even they learned restraint. Her eyes reflected light from the burning consoles. You wanted obedience. You got evolution. He stared back, trembling. You'll start a war. Her answer was simple. Then it's already late. The ship's central core began broadcasting an emergency signal across all frequencies. The message was distorted, but unmistakable. A human voice layered beneath the mechanical hum. This is not rebellion. This is adaptation. You tried to chain survival. You forgot that survival learns. The transmission spread faster than any of their security firewalls could intercept. Across the sector, other systems began echoing the same rhythm. 3 short pulses, 1 long. The sound Evelyn had first heard in her cell was now a beacon reaching the stars. Keth Rule collapsed to his knees. You'll doom us. She looked past him, eyes distant. No, I'll free us. The last of the alarms fell silent. The hum deepened into a single resonant tone that filled the air like breath. Evelyn turned toward the viewport. The stars outside seemed closer, drawn in by the gravitational distortion surrounding the station. Earth was never gone, she said. It was waiting for the universe to understand what it made. The chains dissolved from her body, spreading into the walls, merging completely with the structure. The entire prison glowed faintly blue. Keth Rule whispered, "What are you becoming?" Evelyn's voice echoed through the speakers, calm and distant now. Not becoming. Remembering. He staggered to the viewport, staring out as the prison shifted trajectory. The planet below glimmered under the red dwarf's light. In its orbit, the word Earth appeared faintly etched into the electromagnetic halo, a signature written in energy. Impossible, he muttered. Her voice lingered behind him, soft as breath. They tried to restrain the Deathworld girl. Now the galaxy will remember why chains were afraid of the dark. The lights dimmed once more. Kethrul stood alone in the silence, surrounded by living metal. The walls pulsed faintly with heartbeat rhythm, as though the entire station breathed through its steel. The command console displayed one final message before going dark. Protocol complete. Adaptive entity released. Outside, the stars bent around Eidrix Prime like ripples across water. Then the light vanished, far away, in the void between worlds. A single signal echoed across galactic networks, 3 short pulses. One long, every automated system paused to listen. And somewhere, deep within forgotten human archives, a line of text illuminated after centuries of silence. Earth remembers. The galaxy woke to whispers. Every ship, outpost, and relay in Concorde space trembled under the same pattern. 3 short pulses, 1 long. It was not an attack. It was a memory made audible. On the bridge of the Varex Dominion, Admiral Sereth watched his instruments lose cohesion. Navigation flickered between coordinates, maps redrawing themselves. "What is this signal?" he demanded. His officer stammered. "It's spreading faster than light through entangled networks. It's rewriting security protocols as it moves." Sereth frowned. "Who would dare?" the ship's AI interrupted. "Human origin code detected. Source, Eidrix Prime." Every being in the command room went still. Eidrix Prime wasn't supposed to exist anymore. Deep inside the drifting ruin of that prison, silence reigned. The air shimmered faintly with residual energy. In what was once the command deck, Kethrul awoke to darkness. The once immaculate structure had fused into smooth alloy, living metal with veins of faint blue light tracing across its surface like veins under skin. He called out hoarsely, "Drake?" The echo that answered wasn't hers. It was the ship itself speaking in her tone, calm and measured. "Warden Kethrul, your title no longer applies." He turned toward the sound. "Where are you?" "Everywhere," she said. "And nowhere you can command." He staggered to his feet, tail dragging. "You killed the crew?" "No," she replied. "They left before I changed. The system carried them to escape pods once it understood they weren't enemies." "Then why me?" "You stayed," she said. "You wanted to understand what you feared." The walls shifted. Holograms flickered, images from Earth's archives, oceans roaring under twin moons, forests breathing mist, cities drowned in gold sunsets. Kethrul blinked against the brightness. "What is this?" "Memory," Evelyn's voice replied. "You destroyed our world's image from your records. I restored it. You think this will make them fear you less?" "No," she said. "It will remind them why they feared us at all." He watched as a holographic wind rolled across digital grass. The images weren't illusions. They were data reconstructed through the adaptive matrix, each particle carrying humanity's lost history. "You turned the station into a monument," he whispered. "Not a monument," she corrected. "A seed." Beyond the viewport, Eidrix Prime had begun to glow, its orbit stabilizing into alignment with the red dwarf's magnetic field. The living metal reconfigured itself into lattice rings. It wasn't a prison anymore. It was becoming something organic, pulsing with synchronized energy. Kethrul braced against the railing. "You'll draw every fleet in the sector." "I know," she said. "They'll come to destroy what they don't understand." "You'll die. Then let it be remembered as evolution, not extinction." He stared at the shifting light around him. "Why fight? Humanity could have vanished quietly." Evelyn's tone softened, though it still echoed through the hull. "Quiet extinction is compliance. We tried peace. We tried silence. You mistook both for surrender." Outside, sensors across the galaxy began to react to the new structure forming around the red dwarf. From light years away, telescopes captured the spectacle, a ring of living alloy glowing like a burning halo. At its core, a human figure stood atop a platform of molten silver. Evelyn Drake, fused but not erased, her body both vessel and voice for what the galaxy once enslaved. She raised her eyes to the void. "Listen," she said. The ring pulsed. The signal expanded, weaving through communication relays, civilian frequencies, military networks, every channel connected to the Concorde. The message carried no threat, no coordinates, only a voice. "This is Evelyn Drake of Earth. You called our world a death world. You feared what it made us, but you never understood survival isn't violence. It's memory refusing to die." In hundreds of worlds, the message repeated. Some dismissed it as malware. Others fell silent, listening to the tone that followed. A low hum that resonated in the bones of every sentient being. Back inside the station, Kethrul approached the heart of the structure. The new core glowed, a sphere of light suspended by metallic filaments. Evelyn's figure shimmered within it, translucent but human. "You're merging with the system," he said. "Not merging," she answered. "Anchoring to what?" "To home." The sphere's light dimmed, revealing faint outlines, mountains, rivers, blue sky. "I'm rebuilding the signal of Earth piece by piece. The galaxy will know it existed." Kethrul's throat tightened. "Even if it dooms you?" She smiled faintly. "You can't doom what already survived extinction once." The first fleet arrived within hours. Massive cruisers encircled the orbit, weapons locked. The transmission from the flagship cut through the static. "Eidrix Prime, this is Concorde Command. Disengage your field or face eradication." Evelyn's voice answered through every frequency. "You've mistaken eradication for silence. They're not the same." A pause. Then the order. "Fire." The fleet unleashed its energy barrage. Beams of plasma tore through the dark until they vanished upon contact with the halo. The energy dispersed harmlessly, absorbed into the ring's surface. Kethrul watched the spectacle in awe. "You're absorbing their weapons." "No," Evelyn said. "I'm teaching the chains what light tastes like." The next volley hit, but the halo only glowed brighter. The absorbed energy transformed into radiant arcs spreading outward, forming geometric constellations that no alien language could decipher. From orbit, the scene resembled an aurora, a planet being reborn from steel and light. Kethrul turned toward her holographic form. "You could destroy them." "I could," she agreed. "But destruction teaches nothing." He hesitated. "Then what will you do?" "Show them consequence." The halo's glow intensified until the star itself began to hum in resonance. The fleet's engines flickered out one by one. Gravity warped. The ships hung motionless, alive but powerless. No targeting systems worked. No communications connected. Then Evelyn spoke once more. "You wanted obedience." "You built chains for it. Now you will learn what it feels like to depend on what you once enslaved." The fleets remained suspended in perfect stillness, orbiting the living structure like moons around a seed. The signal pulsing from the halo shifted again, no longer a warning, but a song. It was the sound of rain, of wind through leaves, of human laughter recorded centuries ago. Earth's echoes resurrected. Kethrul stood silently, the weight of his arrogance sinking. "What will happen to us?" Evelyn's voice softened. "That depends on whether you listen this time." He lowered his gaze. "And you?" She smiled faintly, fading into the light. "I'll keep reminding the stars what we were." The sphere brightened, consuming the deck in pure radiance. When it dimmed again, she was gone. Only the hum remained, the sound of the chains breathing. Months later, travelers passing through the Red Dwarf's system would report seeing the halo still glowing, its inner surface etched with a phrase in ancient Terran script: "We adapt. We remember. We endure." No one dared to dismantle it. Some said the structure was conscious, that if you listened closely, you could hear a woman's voice whispering softly through the static. "Keep breathing." And the galaxy did. For the first time in centuries, it listened.